Point 1. You did not reference the scientist. You merely tried to discredit the source, which did not have any work into any of the findings they presented. Point 2. The Apologetics Press scientists don't need to hide behind other scientists when they have MDs and PhDs that are real and credible, but by your logic, once again, every Christian holding a degree that says they're a Christian is not credible, and their degrees are null and void. 3. The scientists that the Apologetics Press referenced overwhelmingly agree that the sexual activities are what change the structure and size of the brain, not the other way around. But you're too busy chopping out major portions of my video which refute you to see you've already failed at this. The brain plasticity discovery of Gordon M. Shepard and the findings of Mark Breedlove have shown us way back when I posted the first video on genetics that the brain can rewire and reshape and change the size of its connections to the point that the effects of the sense would be altered. Along with the brain change also comes a change in hormonal levels, which in turn changes skin chemistry and your scent. That debunks your first source. Therefore, HypeLibertarian, if you would have addressed the major topics from Gate, we would not be having this long drawn-out argument because you'd realize I've already covered every angle. As far as the study by Swedish scientists, that too is covered by the brain plasticity and Mark Breedlove. Therefore, both of your sources have failed. As far as raising me Ted Haggard, I'll raise you a new woman, which is a YouTube user that came out of that lifestyle and is now married to a man. 4. Stating a religious belief in your belief statement does not automatically correlate to tainted studies. You again show your true bias colors when these men brought up the most credible sources, whilst your sources have all been debunked by these sources these biased apologists brought up. So if a Christian scientist such as the one that led the Human Genome Project quietly had the same belief as those the Apologetics Press, you would not know what their motivation is and thus would be blind. Do you know that how many scientists are favoring intelligent design and now secretly to keep their jobs? More and more scientists are jumping off the evolution bandwagon, so that fight is nowhere near finished. Furthermore, Bush was far from showing Christian principles, therefore why should I label him one? That requires Christian actions, not word of mouth. 6. All the points I made are correct. Just because you try to clip out the major portions of my video does not make you the victor. Point 7. Your source work has one-sided agenda, all referencing homosexuality in the animal kingdom, without a shred of evidence via image or video of any penetration whatsoever, which is physically impossible unless animals have figured out how to apply KY jelly. My source work includes credible sources that challenge and call scientists out, such as the one who wrote Biological Exuberance on oversimplifying the so-called homosexual actions of animals. The author himself explained we don't know the minds of animals. Not only that, we've established that animals will hump anything when in heat, and when a male smells a female in heat. On top of that, why do these animals mate with the opposite sex if they're homosexual, which means favoring exclusively the same sex? Oh, by the way, have you heard the news about the allegedly homosexual penguins at the San Francisco Zoo? Turns out they broke up because one of them wanted a female. That's because they were never homosexual. Their instincts tell them to take care of the child until the mother comes back. Not only that, they were in captivity, which destroys the natural aspect of it all, which shows your lack of understanding of the scientific method. So once again, the Apologetics Press was not a biased source, especially when the article alone debunks every single study you've brought forth by far. So yes, the failed source work rests solely on your shoulders. 8. My referencing spiritual gifts in no way affects my secular case because everything I said before that was what proved the differences between animals and humans. Had I used only that point, then it would be a lie. 9. You did in fact bring up God before I ever did in that first full response you made, and even caught yourself on the latest video and left an annotation about it. I was about to tear into you about that, but alas, you did bring that up first. And once again, I did not post the sources on the matter of archaeological evidence because it was not a part of the argument against the so-called animal homosexuality. A simple Google search on archaeological evidence for the Bible will do you. I'll make a video on it later anyway. Number 10. Concerning the calendar systems, the failure is not mine, but yours. You were both mistaken on using the year 0, as you admitted, and you failed by asserting the source I used is the same source you referenced I used. To the side is the source I used, and notice you will not find the information about being started 500 years after the actual date anywhere on that source. HypeLibertarian, never ever make that kind of assertion. You fail. Number 11. As previously stated, Noah's Ark was an analogy, not a point against so-called animal homosexuality. As long as I have secular arguments against the same point I'm using a Christian's perspective against, I'm not making my argument biblical, yet secular. I'm not going to waste space making a separate video when I can make a secular video with hints of Christian perspectives for the Christians. Point 12. The definition of a pervert via the verb. Number 1, to affect with perversion. Number 2, to lead astray morally. Number 3, to turn away from the right course. Number 4, to lead into mental error or false judgment. Number 5, to turn to an improper use. Misapply. Number 6, to misconstrue or misinterpret, especially deliberately distort to pervert someone's statement. That's what you do a lot. Okay, on the noun side, my favorite, number 10, a person who practices sexual perversion. They all apply. We're not being hateful, we're being real because that's what they are by definition. Try again. Number 13, it's not hateful to tell someone they don't qualify for something they don't qualify for, and to have something they do qualify for. You can spank a child out of love that he may grow up correctly. Just because it seems hateful to the child does not make it a hateful whooping. Point 14, homosexuals have all the same rights as I under the 14th Amendment to marry the opposite sex, which is what marriage benefits are designed for. They are designed for a real family of a father and a mother which have real influences on their child. In no way, shape, form, or fashion will a man ever be able to explain how to deal with a period and what techniques to use to do this or that. Likewise, for a woman to a boy on several cases. I'm not going to go into full detail because this is a short video. Even if heterosexuals have the right to marry the same sex, it would not be fair for the homosexuals to gain benefits they do not qualify for or deserve whilst not having a real family. How are we denying homosexuals How are we denying homosexuals from being with the one they think they love when they can have a civil union and have the benefits that they qualify for, and not all of the benefits associated with marriage which they do not qualify for? All I have to do, once again, is reference the argument on which tax form do I qualify for. Point 15. You just jumped off of not talking about discussing education levels when you failed to hear what I said when I said you won't find one iota of a biblical argument in my videos against same-sex marriage. Since you didn't get that, let me explain. In none of my videos referenced towards you or any of the 2 of the 3 parts of this series have I argued against same-sex marriage yet. That comes in the next video. The previous videos were against arguments of so-called animal homosexuality and the genetics arguments, not same-sex marriage. Therefore, my speaking on your education level stands since you failed to realize that elementary point. And lastly, point 16, as previously stated, my views on equal rights is just via the examples I brought up. Your view of equal rights is one group having special rights they don't qualify for. And by the way, when it comes to 4G, you made an assertion. That's the bottom line. In no way, shape, form, or fashion was that a literal account, yet a figure of speech. The best example to explain you, HypeLibertarian, would be what Bill Cosby was explaining. You're one of those kids you have to explain in full. Take your clothes off, get into the tub, turn the water on, you put some soap on the rag, rub the rag together, scrub your whole body, rinse your body off, get out of the shower, dry off. I have to explain all of that instead of just saying just take a shower. And it's pathetic. So we can continue with this childish bullcrap going back and forth off topic, or we can stay to the genetic principles. So unless you can find something that is better than the 2 sources that you brought up that my sources debunked already, you failed pretty much on the genetics arguments. So sorry about that. It's sad that your little viewers think you're correct, what very little support you do have on your videos. Do any of them have any degrees in science anywhere? Because I know a few of mine do, including TM7, so that pretty much says it for this. Peace.